All right, and we are live. Hey, ladies.
Hi, so excited for the first show.
Me too.
Very first episode of Yup Live. Yup standing for Young Urban Professionals, because that is what we are. We are professional ladies, and we are urban, and we are young, right? We're
We
young.
are young, baby.
So I wanted to go ahead and introduce all of us, but before we do that, just a quick little introduction into what this whole show is about. This is now the new Yup Network, Young Urban Professional Network, where we are going to be discussing all things pertaining to our demographic, albeit social justice, jobs, entrepreneurism, the community, whatever it is that we feel is very important for us to communicate about and be a voice for our people. So I am Sharique LeMay. I am a entertainment specialist, media specialist. I host. I have another show called LeMay Day Limelight, which will be following this one at 8 p.m. tonight. So make sure you check that out. I also produce. I do music videos and a host of other things. But I also wanted to introduce these two lovely young ladies. We have Jasmine. Did you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, Miss Jasmine?
Yes. Hi, I'm Jasmine. I am the founder of Love Jazz Media, integrated communications and events industry agency. I'm the outgoing entertainment chair of Los Angeles Urban League Young Professionals. Joining the professional development team committee so that we can get our entrepreneurship on, because professional development committees and all these organizations focus on, well, we'll go into that later. You go ahead, Jerica. I can talk for days.
Okay, I want to introduce myself, but while people are still logging in, I just want to know, how are you guys?
Great, amazing, enjoying this amazing hot day here in Los Angeles.
I'm so jealous.
You are joining.
How's the weather out there, Jasmine?
It rained last night, so it's like gray and 70-ish.
Okay.
So I feel a little gray today, but I'm glad to be on here with you ladies. It was the highlight of my day. The reason I came today.
We're the highlight of your day?
Yes.
Hearts.
I feel like I've just been taking it day by day. I'll just say that. But I've been taking it day by day. It's a lot going on. So I've been taking it day by day. But hello to those of you who may be watching. I'm Jerica Dilla. I'm a marriage and family therapist associate, and I'm also the co-owner of G&G Protection, which is a security guard company in Dallas, Texas. A little bit about me. Currently, I service the Compton, Watts, and Long Beach areas, primarily working with kids, but I do it all. And then I also, on the weekends, do a little bit of private practice as well. I'm excited that this is our first, very, very first episode, and I cannot wait till we get into these topics.
Same, and Jerry, accepting clients. You want to get people asking if you accepting clients.
Huh?
You know, people are going to ask if you're accepting clients. Are you accepting clients right now?
Right, that part.
It depends on what kind of client they are. I'll just say that. So I'm not going to say no, but I'm not going to say yes. It really just depends on what that client has going on, because I may have to refer them out depending on what they have going on.
Right.
So you have a referral network. We love to hear it.
Yes.
Black mental health matters.
It surely does.
Absolutely.
It surely does.
Well, we're going to be talking about some really heavy topics. I'm glad we're all, pretty lighthearted right now. But as we all know, everything is really, really heavy and deep. For the most part, I've had to kind of distance myself, aside from social media distancing, because it's a lot. I've always called myself an empath, even before it was cool to call yourself an empath. And I think it's important to be able to do so, but I also think it's very important to have the conversations that you want to have.
Right.
And so I reached out to you ladies, and we've been chit-chatting for almost a year now about coming up with this show and creating this concept.
Has it been a year?
It's been a year.
I think so, yeah.
It's been a year since we first had a nice little sit down with some wine and had conversations about what it is we wanted to talk about. I know. they go by so fast. But yeah, so, you know, as we all know, amidst us being in the COVID-19 pandemic and having to abide by the guidelines of social distancing, the community of us urban folks, or, you know, the African-American community, widespread community, has been suffering our own pandemic for many moons and many years. And it's kind of coming to the forefront. And so we discussed the George Floyd aftermath, which encompasses police brutality, legislation, policy, police reform, and there's just so many different elements that come with it. But I wanted to pass it over to you, Jerica, because you had some thoughts about how we as a people are responding to the George Floyd aftermath specifically, and how it relates to people's voices being heard as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. When we came up with this topic, there are some things on my heart that was really heavy, and some questions that I had. I do want to say hi to Wendy and Benya's Kitchen that entered. Thank you guys for tuning in. But one of the questions that I kept thinking about was, why is it that George Floyd is getting so much attention and Breonna Taylor is not? And this was something that I have been thinking about for a while. Now, granted, she has a lot more publicity now that, you know, Derek Chauvin has been arrested. But before that, I really didn't see a lot of posts about her. And the posts that I did see were all women. I really didn't see men posting about her. And it made me think of, when it comes to the injustices, you know, are men more recognized than women? Like, I just didn't understand why she wasn't on everyone's pages just as much as George Floyd. And then I'm still wondering, why haven't they arrested her killers?
Well, today I read that they're not going to, because they're protected by the police union in Kentucky. So I think that's a bigger problem.
Right.
But on the surface, and we talked about this a little bit, I think it is because of the sensationalism of dangling a carrot in front of Fox News saying we killed another Black man. I think Black women are disposed of so often. Like, I think it was another video last week of 2 Black women being thrown in a dumpster by Black men.
Right.
So I think we all know that Black women are on the bottom of the totem pole. So when we're asking for justice, it's kind of like we're asking each other for justice. We're asking each other to support us. The white women worry about white women. Black men are competing with white men. It's no one who is actually worrying about us.
Yeah. I would say, again, I think it's sensationalism, you know, and it's somewhat of like, I hate to use the word, you know, trauma porn, so to speak. But, you know, the way people identify it more when it's a Black man, because the Black man is supposed to be strong. He's supposed to be the leader. You know what I mean? And oftentimes, if you read about, you know, what slave masters did in order to create this synergy with their slaves and have them really be at their beck and call, they separated the Black man from the Black woman. You know, generally they're supposed to be our protectors. And, you know, so as I'm just curious if Black men feel as though, you know, when things do happen to Black women, if they feel in general that they have failed, you know, the community.
I wish we were having this conversation with Christian on the show so he can defend himself.
Come on.
On Twitter today, it was a thing that said protect Black women, or Black men protect Black women.
Yeah.
And it was like a whole thread about like, don't just protect them on the internet, protect them in real life. Because we have to remember, these are the men who are also in our homes abusing us. These are also the men who, no shade to interracial dating, but who will bash us and then go date a Latino or date a white girl because that's more aesthetically pleasing. And it makes them look good. It makes them feel like, oh, they can compete with this white man now.
Right.
So I think the system was designed to break up Black men and Black women, and it's working. just like all these other systems are working. So until we can fix the system and then prioritize the Black family, I think that we're always going to kind of be at odds with each other, or Black women aren't going to be protected because there's no one to protect us besides our individual men.
Right.
I was just about to say, I mean, I feel like this is a piece that people aren't really talking about, but Breonna had a whole man protecting her. Like,
because he was right.
Yeah, he was in the house. He was armed. He was ready to go. According to a lot of news reports, allegedly the cops were in plain clothes. And so him being a man, he did what he had to do to protect her. And so I think sometimes
what did he do when they came in the house?
Huh?
What did he do when they came in the house?
He shot at them. Now I don't know the time frame or of how that happened, but the report said, I read it allegedly that the police did not introduce themselves and they were in plain clothes. So he thought it was a break-in.
Right.
But it's just, I speak to the point of, I guess, this idea that, you know, we don't have Black men that are supporting us. I see that a lot on social media, like Black men don't support us. And I just think that we have some that do, and you have some that don't. But I don't know if I like this idea that they don't support us, because I feel like I've been supported in more ways than one, even with strangers. And I also think that Breonna's man was trying to protect her. It didn't work out the way she wanted, but he definitely was trying his best to, you know, to protect her.
And was her boyfriend actually arrested?
That's what I had a confusing.
I think so, because they said, I read a report that said that the charges were like dropped, I think, against him. But
his attorney asked for permanent dismissal of attempted murder and assault.
Yep.
Attempted murder. So is it attempted murder if you're defending your household?
And that was what was the big debate about, right? Because, and this kind of is a trigger for me when some people are like, well, he shot back, and so that's why the officers aren't arrested. But it's just more so those things, people did not really look into the story of what was actually going on. So I think it's easy to have a lot of different opinions if you are not all the way familiar of what happened. And then also, I think that we have to be mindful that this has been said time and time again, the Black woman is the most disrespected woman in America, you know? And I can't lie that even in corporate America, there's always 9 times out of 10, the token Black guy. You know, we've heard that terminology, but I've never heard of the token Black woman. You know, I know personally, I have to, in corporate America, have to make sure that I don't come off a certain way because I am Black. Versus my counterparts, they can say whatever they want and it's like, oh, she's passionate. So when we bring it back to my question of why is George Floyd getting more press than Breonna Taylor, we have to ask ourselves, is it because she's a woman versus she's a Black woman versus a Black man?
Right. I mean, I see you have a comment from Mike Brown. He says that Floyd was reported. That's the main reason. I think that does have, that's substantially, primarily perhaps the main reason. I would like to think that if the sexes were flipped, if it was actually Breonna that was laying on that ground and you actually watched her die, I think there would be I would hope that there would be just as much outrage.
I think that's a good point. I think Mike has a good point.
I would like to focus then on the Botham Jean scenario. Whereas it was a very similar situation, but it was just that the white lady cop walked into his house while he was eating ice cream in the dark in the comfort of his own home, and he was shot and killed. I feel as though that got a lot of press, and I think it was actually broadcasted on the news far, beyond Black Twitter picking it up and us making an uproar about it. And so I like, when I try to compare, I would like to say, okay, I would think of it more of a situation as Botham Jean, because we didn't necessarily have other than the officer.
The video footage of it.
He had body cam on, but it was very, very dark. So we didn't actually see the full depiction of what actually happened in that particular situation. But I will say, I feel as though both and John got far more press than what we're seeing with Breonna Taylor, being that it's somewhat of a very, very similar situation.
Yeah.
I think also when you look at the outrage of it all is George Floyd, Trayvon Martin, Fidel Castro, they all, or maybe not even Fidel, they all had protests around it, right? And it was always, okay, we're going to have a movement now. But
you said Philando?
I don't think he had a lot of protests. I'm not sure. But when we see protests, they're usually happening because of Black men getting killed. Where Sandra Bland, I don't know if we had a video or not, but she got pressed also, but it wasn't still that outrage. And I think going back to the sensationalism of it all, the outrage matters. The more people are going to talk about it, because you got to think about media at the end of the day and press. They want views. So the more outrage, the more people are mad, the more press they're going to get.
Right. And I think that this George Floyd
situation, we're talking about it now.
Yeah, I mean, it was really the straw that broke the camel's back at the end of the day, because it's even after so many years of the protesting, when Philando Castile had, happened, when all of these different things had happened, we've been doing the same things over and over again. It's become redundant, so to speak, or we just expect us to go out into the streets and march and protest. With this particular situation, I think it was just so blatant. And it was gut wrenching. I don't know if you ladies actually watched the video, but it's really hard to watch. And
and the fact that it was 8 minutes, like the man lost his life way before the 8 minutes and 46 seconds.
Right.
And then it's the casualty of the officer's face where he just was like so nonchalant about it with his hand in his pocket. So I think it's also that, like, you can actually see the visual, and that's what makes it hard.
Yeah, I didn't watch the video. I'm really cognizant of my mental space, so I read the stories. But I think the last murder that I actually watched was Philando Castile, and that's just for my own personal mental health. I don't watch anymore, but I do read about it. I do sign the petitions, but it also makes me think of where we are in society. So if there's no video, did it mean it didn't happen? There's no video, there's no outroar, and I think we live now in society. It's like, okay, well, if there's no video, then I guess it shows that your death may or may not get as much publicity or uproar as someone else. But then you have to think of, how does that desensitize us as a people? Because you're watching these murders over and over and over again. And then you're like, oh, here goes another one.
And it's also, it's gonna happen when I die. Like, I hope I get justice when I die.
I mean, don't film me if I'm dying.
I hope someone films me when I'm dying.
Don't film me. I don't care, cop or not. Like, y'all better come out into beat the cops up. There's more of us than them at the end of the day. Please don't film me. Go out there and protect me. I mean, I guess filming is, as we can see, is important, but is it? Because
it has to be. I mean, this is what we've shown, right? Like, if you film it and you see it, you get more justice. Like, we saw, I always get his name wrong, Rayshard, yes. I didn't personally see it, but there was video footage of Rayshard getting killed, and that officer has already been fired. And so there was video footage of the kids in Atlanta, and those officers were quickly reprimanded. And so it's like, if there's not a video, then it's the people, the citizens, against the police's word. And it shouldn't be that way. But that is, we live in a very, very visual society where people want to show that it happened, right? People are, I can't think of the man's name, but he videotaped his own death. Like, he was on Facebook Live. And he, I can't think of his name right now, so forgive me. It's just so many, but he literally was videoing his own death on live.
Right. I want to make mention of this comment that we just got from Wendy. She said, what's more sad is that 60,000 to 70,000 Black women and girls have been missing for years. and there has been no attention brought on to that specific situation. I mean, you guys remember the Bring Back Our Girls, recognizing the girls out in Nigeria that were, abducted and still haven't come back. That was a whole sensational, thing. They had Obama, and the Obamas holding up the signs, "Bring Back Our Girls," which is great. I'm glad that they had all of that happening for them. But then there's young African American women here.
That's what my point was.
And
I'm a globalist, love the globe. However, we're always taking care of others and fighting other people's battles without dealing with home. And I feel like this is the time now that we can deal with home and we can deal with the injustice of Black people. And I think once that is not fixed, but once it's kind of on coast to be unfixed, then we can start worrying about bring back our girls, because we got girls here that we need to bring back home.
I definitely think that that's a topic in itself. You know what I mean? I think that is, because I have so many thoughts and feelings about that. That is a literally a topic within itself about bring back our girls, organ harvesting, and all of that. Like, I think that this is why this network is going to be so influential, because I want to have that conversation. But I want to point out something Rashida Kilpatrick said, and she says, we know that if there is no video, it's our word against theirs, and they have the law behind them, right? And this is coming from an attorney, you know what I mean? So it's unfortunate, but that is just the truth. But it also makes me think of, the protests that we're doing right now, right? And Jasmine, you can speak to this. I learned about this last week, was performative activism. You know what I mean? And just this idea. So please speak to it.
So it's good for the brand. But before I get to that, I think also they have the law behind them, but it's also these police unions. Like, how can you, like you said, how can you pass the law and not fire the police officers because the union's on their side? Who wrote the union laws? Who has the bylaws to? Let me tell you, and I would say that I don't want this recorded.
It's here. It's recorded.
I looked up the Kentucky police union.
Yeah,
it's a whole bunch of white men.
But are we surprised?
No, here and there. So, anyways, performative activism. It's all the whole thing with these brands, like, oh, Black Lives Matter. We support you. We support you. We're listening and we're learning. Mm-hmm. Talk is cheap. Like, show me. And a little bit of it also is where they're donating to, right? They're donating to the legal defense funds. They're donating to everything they know. So it's the accessibility of it. They want to perform and say, oh, I support you. I'm going to give to this Black Lives Matter fund. I'm going to give to NAACP. Mm-hmm. But what about the urban leagues of the world who actually are working towards economic parity? Oh, my flowers. Sorry, one of my flowers fell.
Well, let's define what performative activism is in its depth, because it also.
I'm not Webster, but if I was, I would say that performative activism is putting on a show just to say that you did it, or that you were there, or that you can get a like or a comment or engagement on your post, so that you seem like you're a part of the movement. So it's me going down to a protest. Never been to a protest before, and then deciding, I'm going to take all these pictures of the protest so that I can capture that I was here. Now, I don't fault everyone for it, because maybe you want to take the pictures to show I was in that moment.
Right.
But it's, what do you do after the protest? Are you signing?
Right.
And protesting isn't even like, I don't go to protest, but that's not my way of activism. My activism is the way of actually working and joining boards, making a difference, getting people jobs, giving people whatever. Where are we going?
I mean, my thing is this: go to the protest if that's what you want to do. Like, I'm all for that. What bothers me is people literally dressing up with the outfits on, and you can tell that it's staged, right? The Million Man March, back then, they didn't have a lot of cameras and everything like that. Like, literally, people are like, I don't know what outfit I'm gonna wear to the protest, you know? And that's what bothers me, you know, because I feel like it
doesn't do any justice for the cause.
And you lose the message.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And
yes,
I'm having conversations with people and I'm like, hey, did you sign that petition? Oh, what petition?
right.
You know, and I'm educating them, right, on like, okay, here's the petition for Breonna, here's the petition for George Floyd, like here's an email for the police department.
Mm-hmm.
But I think those should be the conversations. Did you sign this? Because that is what creates change versus are you going to a protest or not? And then people actually shaming people for not going to the protest. It's like people want to do activism in their different ways, right? But make sure
it happening. You can't shame people for not going to a protest when a pandemic is
There should be no activism shaming, period. Me personally, I feel as though I'm like, keep that same energy when it comes to your local elections. Keep that same energy when there's town hall meetings and they're discussing some of these bylaws, and some of these, you know, logistical things that are actually affecting your community. Knowing about redlining, knowing about these different calls to action that we don't realize are happening beneath our noses. And we're talking gentrification. Exactly. We're talking about the gentrification of the police department. Just outside, I'm in Hollywood/Koreatown. There are huge billboards, literally hundreds of feet away from each other, the same billboard, asking people to come be a part of the police academy. And it's a Black man on the billboard. I can't make this up. And I'm like, when did this get here? You know, so there's so many other things that we can all, like I said, keep that same energy. Let's hit these polls. Keep that same energy. Let's have group meetings where we're discussing in the community what's happening. The gentrification, like I said, is a huge problem. And that provides a platform for the police brutality and the police reform to not happen if we're not aware of what's actually going on within our local communities. Even like you just said, we're worried about what's happening in other countries and people want to go and be a part of these movements and all of these continents. Okay, yes, I care about what's happening here in Los Angeles and in Oakland, California, where I'm from. I need to know what's happening in my neighborhood, and then I can also apply that to the greater nation.
I agree. I just have a quick question because I think I missed it. The connection between the Black men on the billboards, is that a bad thing? I feel like I missed the... Is that a bad?
It's interesting because I rarely see Black officers in Los Angeles. So I'm you know, saying, okay, is it that you're looking for more Black people to join the police force? And why is this particular billboard? Why do I only see a Black man? I feel like there's messaging in that, so to speak. I feel as though that was intentional. I don't think that was by accident. Do I think we need more Black police officers? That's a whole other conversation, to be completely honest.
Well, I think we do, but
and you know, it was funny because I was listening to a podcast today called Anti. Shout out to Anti. But it was saying that we never look at how it feels to be a policeman or military man in conjunction with the Darren Chauvins of the world. So if the guy who sits across from him when they're in the office or at the desk, if he's Black and he has to go work every day, Darren Chauvin's behavior just didn't start on May 25th. That's who he is. So we have to look at their microaggressions. And I think it's, again, I'm just going to say the unions. I think it starts with the people who protect you, the people who are paying your taxes and advocating for you. I think it should be more Black police officers, but I also think policing should be more community-based like they used to be, where I know my police officer because he lives down the street from me and he knows my mother. So it's not like he's going to kill me because he's going to have hell. My family's right next door.
Right.
So I think that's what we should
And they also have to be held accountable. If you know where your police officer lives and he does some, excuse my language, some effed up stuff, you know where to go handle. That's how it used to be. Your sheriff lived around the corner.
And it's a little bit more accountability, right? If you know and you have interest vested in your community, you're going to protect your community with a different kind of safety than when you can just do all your shit there and then go back to the suburbs or go back to whatever town you live in and not worry about it because you're separated from that community.
Yeah.
I agree. And I think that we have to get back to what's important.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to educate those who don't know, because how can you do better if you don't know better? So I had a conversation with someone about presidency, and they're like, are you going to vote for this person or that person? And I'm like, I don't know, that's my vote, but voting locally is going to be way more impactful to me than who I decide to vote for president. Because if I get locked up tomorrow, if I get beat tomorrow, God forbid, the president is not going to come down and be like, you know what, this was injustice. But my local officials are the ones that are going to make those decisions. And the reality of it is, a lot of people don't even vote in their local election. They don't even know when they are. But I think it's important for us to have that conversation. You know what I mean? And I think that, I think we're not having that conversation enough. We're tweeting, we're posting, Black Twitter is popping, but really having the important conversations that we need to have, we're not really having those.
Yeah. So that's because since it's on the screen, I want to stay true to the screen. Let's get back to performative activism. And
I think that's a part of performative activism.
I think that's a part of it as well.
It's a part of it.
We're basically what we're speaking on how people can actually participate in activism in other ways. And by it first starts with being aware and being responsible. You know, like you said, we don't know about some of our local elections. Well, come on down to these local organizations such as the Los Angeles Urban League Young Professionals, NAACP, and there's a host of many other ones that you can come and be a part of.
Negro women.
Absolutely. Scrolling through their websites. And why is it that NAACP, why is their following on Instagram not like the Shade Room? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Why are they not followed when they have information, they have resources, they have tools to help us as people to be better?
Or it's like how we listen to the Killer Mikes of the world and the T.I.s of the world and then give them so much validation as if they've been in the fight for centuries, when maybe they just repeating what they heard from their grandmother or their auntie versus actually doing the work and studying, and us not giving that clout and that same following to the Michelle Alexandras of the world and the Cornel West and the whoever else.
Stacey Abrams. So thank you for this. Thank you for the segue, Jasmine, because that brings us to our final topic. Because yes, why are we so dependent and so attached to the opinions of celebrities? And this is a conversation that we had, ladies, before the Dave Chappelle 8 minutes and 46 seconds dropped, where he basically spoke to just that. That was verbatim. What came out of his mouth was, why do you want to hear from me? You know, I'm just a human being like you are. Why did Don Lemon feel the need to call me out and Oprah out and a host of other celebrities to speak on the George Floyd incident? I'm hurt like you are. And this
because people listen to them and they have the audience.
So was Don Lemon wrong in his accusations? Do you think he was wrong with calling them out? Do you think it was fair and justified?
Yes and no. I think you can't call people out. Like, you can't ask people to talk about something that they don't feel comfortable talking about. And if they're not expert, you're asking a fisherman to be an expert on flying an airplane.
Right.
But they have the following to have that conversation, I suppose.
To bring awareness.
If you want to, go ahead, Jerica.
No, I was just going to say, can we just be honest? Like, we don't have the same type of leaders that we used to have. So now celebrities are the leaders. Like, when they wanted the younger generation to stay at home and quarantine because they weren't listening, guess who they had? They had Kylie Jenner to put on her social media, guys, stay at home. Yeah. These people have such influential power. Their influencers and their followers are so devoted. So if they want to push a certain agenda, if they want something done, they're going to go to these influencers who have millions of followers, and they're going to tell them, this is what I want you to post. And people follow it. And that is why we're dependent so much on celebrities, because there's no other leaders. These celebrities are glorified.
Mm-hmm.
I had a friend that said something wrong about Beyonce and they shut his tweet down. They shut it down.
Just like that. It happens.
And it's a shame. You know, people say freedom of speech, but you got to be careful, because if you say the wrong thing about the wrong celebrity, it may end you.
But I think how do we shift that, right? Because we can't give celebrities that much power. I mean, it's the whole B. Simone thing where everyone is buying into her and her product isn't even of quality. So why are we buying into, I mean, we all buy into somebody or something, right? But why are we buying into celebrities? Like, it's kind of that aesthetic type of thing. Like, they look good. I see their lifestyle. I want to be like that. So I'm going to feed into this, and I'm going to listen to everything they do, everything they say, so that I can have that too. Right. When are we going to wake up and realize that's not how this world works?
We have a comment that's very interesting.
Yeah, I was going to say, Rashida's, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's okay to expect celebrities who benefit off of the Black dollar to speak up when Black bodies are being murdered. I would say I agree with that. And we know, when it comes to consumerism, when it comes to setting trends, we know that, African Americans lead the forefront in that. Whenever there's a new dance move, TikTok blew up, all of that comes from Black culture. And Black culture is amplified through our celebrities and those who we hold at a high regard. I will just say we as a people need to hold them responsible, and we need to still make sure that we are keeping ourselves informed. I myself, I subscribe to the teachings of Killer Mike for the most part. I know he is a human being, and I had my issues and my qualms with some of the things that he was saying when he did that press conference on that podium just after, Atlanta had just started rioting, and some of the things that he had mentioned were, we're burning down our own homes, and we're, basically scolding the people. But you can also see him saying, we're going to burn everything down, but whose homes are those that were being burned down? When I looked it up, I did my own research. What was being burned down? Who was burning down what? And you'll find that a lot of it wasn't us. It wasn't
exactly
the movement, and a lot of the places that were being burned down are not owned by us.
And that's
heavily gentrified.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what is the message that he's really pushing? So some people say, okay, well, he has his foot, sold into the Atlanta agriculture within the community. He has businesses. Other people have businesses, so now their money is being affected. So there's just so many other aspects of that we have to look at. I love Killer Mike, like I said, but I also take what he said with a grain of salt. And I wish that he hadn't scolded us publicly in that manner on that podium, on that white network. I think he could have said, okay, I see you. I see that you're hurt so much that you're doing this. However, everything else he said was great. Let's organize. Let's mobilize. But we need actual actionable items. Where are these resources?
And I think when you think about it, we have to ask, like, who's the audience, right? When Don Lemon called out Oprah and who else did he call out? Oprah, they have the message. We don't need to hear about the police and how unjust it is, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're asked, like Killer Mike on the White Network, he was on CNN saying, and T.I. was on it. But white people are not really listening to them anyway.
Right.
They're listening to Dave Chappelle. He has a predominantly white audience. They're listening to Oprah. She has a predominantly white audience. Though I think Don Lemon was calling on them so that they can reach out to those white liberals who say they are with us and they say Black Lives Matter, but trying to figure out what the message is to them so that they can actually not be the performative activists.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think the same effect would have happened had it been Anderson Cooper? Do you think people would have responded in the same way if it was Anderson Cooper, who is a white man?
I just imagine
Anderson Cooper had the right to call people out.
I just don't understand why these rappers and some of these celebrities feel like they can speak for us, or why people are calling them to speak for us. I mean, Antonio said something that's interesting. He said, if Noam Chomsky is being interviewed on CNN, they don't ask him about Taylor Swift. And that's my thing. You know what I mean? Like, you're asking T.I., you're asking Killer Mike, and I get that these are people that are influential and people look up to them. But why aren't we asking some of the political leaders, you know what I mean, that are actually being a part of the movement, you know? Because personally, when I saw that Killer Mike interview, I was triggered because I was like, who's to say that we're the ones burning anything down? So you're feeding into the narrative that they're already thinking about us, that because we're angry, we are burning things down and we're looting and we might be rioting. And no, he didn't say all of that, but he didn't have to.
Right.
You know, because it's already implied, because that is what is being shown. Now we know, if we watch on Instagram, that we know the looters and a lot of those rioters don't look like us. We know a lot of them are beige. That's just the reality of it. But CNN and different media networks, it's a different representation. I actually saw a news lady, the white lady had bags, and she was walking out, and she had the nerve to say, "Oh, well, I hope she's not stealing. Maybe she works there."
She works at this.
Are you kidding me? So the media portrays things different way, and a lot of times that does not favor Blacks. A lot of times we are portrayed negatively. So when someone gets on a national platform and says, we need to stop doing this and we need to stop doing that, it's like, who said it's us?
Exactly.
Yeah.
If anything, to your point earlier, Sharik, give us an action plan of things. You know, and if you don't know it, why don't you partner with your local activists? And if you want to be the voice, you know, or if we say, like, you know, we want him to be the voice or whatever the case may be, then okay. But I'm personally not going to follow someone that I don't know what they've done. How many Black schools, how much funding have you given to the community?
Yeah.
That's
And
tangible.
people trust celebrities, not politicians, especially in the Black community. But that's the issue, right? Is that we trust celebrities and not politicians, but we elect the politicians. So what are we doing wrong that we don't trust the people that we elect?
But are we electing the politician? That's the problem. Are we hitting the polls? Are we going to the polling booths like we should be? Are we
in that song? We're buying that merch.
Exactly.
So that's the idea that needs to switch.
Yeah.
There's a disconnect. There needs to be a partnership that's directly related to community activists and celebrity influence. Because unfortunately, these community activists do not have the same following as a T.I. or a Killer Mike. They just don't.
Right.
So there needs to be a connection.
Then what about the of the world who did the Rock to Vote, who did all the whole campaign?
Who, like Snoop, who said he's never voted? Is that what you're talking about?
No, did he?
Because he was a part of the Rock to Vote too.
Yes.
Now, did he telling us not to vote, or he's saying that we need to demand more from our politicians, but he's not telling us how to do it? And I think that's also
and then we can even say Black Lives Matter has become its own celebrity entity. So everywhere you go, I was in Santa Monica the other day, and there was a big school bus that pulled up with a bus full of white kids jumping up and down on it, and they had Black Lives Matter written all over it. Black Lives Matter in itself has become its own celebrity entity. And then it makes you wonder, has the message been diluted because of the celebrity? Are we really able to have a leader without worrying about the tarnishment of the celebrity influence? Will their message still be able to come across? Will we ever have another Martin Luther King? Will we ever have another Huey Newton, Bobby Seale, Malcolm X? Is that even possible at this point?
Yeah, I think it is. And Rashida said something else, is celebrities should use platforms to speak out, but not pretend to be experts. And I think that was my point earlier. Is, you know, literally partner with the NANs. You know, some people don't even know what NAN is. You know, partner with the NAACP. Do your research. And I think if I could say anything, is to do your research, because the media will tell you something that may or may not be true. People will say things that may not be factual. And as a people, we have to do better at doing our research, because as of right now, we're we're watching things and just taking things for face value without even knowing who we're electing, without even voting if we are going to, no, without even voting. We just have to do a better job at making sure we do our due diligence, to do the research, and to do the work, and not just post like we're doing the work and we're not doing it.
Right. Well, this, I think, would be a good place for us to close out. But before we do, I did get a message from our brother Christian Green, who is currently dealing with some heavy stuff out in his area in Palmdale. He's one of those people that's boots on the ground, finger on the pulse. He was supposed to be on with us today, but he will be on with us the next time because he is one of our co-hosts. He's actually dealing with a very serious situation out in Palmdale with the lynchings. Now there's some defacing of property that has some very derogatory language that's being put out. And he's one of those people that's really out there dealing and doing it. So make sure you guys are following Christian as well as all of us on our platform. And I just want to give, love and light to him as he's out there fighting the good fight. I respect him. I can't say I would do it. I'll be completely honest. But I do respect those that do. So again, thank you, ladies. Did you have any final thoughts or anything you wanted to say, or actionable items that we can give to our followers?
I sure do, but I'll let you go, Jess.
You go. I don't have anything else to add. You can go.
Me personally, I just would love for everybody to follow us. I know that between the three of us and then the four of us, including Christian, we have a lot of information that we like to share within our different networks. Tap in with us if you have any questions or if you have any resources to give to us that we can put out there to our followers. We plan to be a major network so that we can expose our truest thoughts. We're not always going to agree on everything, but I think this type of conversation is healthy. It's very necessary to have differences in opinions and perspectives, and as well as to create some sort of synergy amongst our urban demographic of professionals.
I wanted to thank everybody who tuned in. Thank you so much for rocking with us. I also encourage you, if you haven't already, to connect with your local Urban League, NAACP, or Urban Network.
Yes, absolutely.
So that you can be a part of the conversation and figure out how to make a difference, sign petitions, etc. I ask that you add me on Instagram at Hey Miss MISS Gillum, like Hey Miss Parker, but Hey Miss Gillum, GILLIAM. I would love to connect with you. Yes, it's Hey Miss Gillum, and really be a part of the movement, and not just to telegraph or film the movement, but really to be a part of it. And to be a part of it is to be a part of change. And change and activism is about doing the work.
Absolutely.
Okay. I thought your Instagram was my therapist is dope.
That's my professional one. I have to. I don't want my clients following my personal one. Okay.
Got it. But also I will add, vote with your dollar. I think that is the biggest takeaway of what I want to bring to this platform, is that our dollars matter. We just got a whole stimulus check, and how much of that went back to the U.S. government or the people in power, I would say.
Yeah.
Versus reallocating that into a Black-owned business or into an education system that is predominantly Black.
Yeah, we haven't even touched on the influence of our preachers and our ministers in the community, but that's a whole other conversation.
So stay tuned, guys. We have a lot we want to talk about.
Yes. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you, ladies. Love you. And we will see you next time. Stay tuned.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.